right, we're all set. Okay. All right, well, great to see everybody here in the chambers, and it's great to see my colleagues. We had a 5 o'clock Committee of the Whole meeting, which was primarily closed session, which just ended a few moments ago. So we are now back here for our business meeting. First order of business is the call to order for the Kalamazoo City Commission meeting for Monday, May 19th, 2025. And we'll get started here with roll call. Clerk Borling.
Commissioner Cooney.
Present.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Pradel.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. For our opening ceremony this evening, we are honored to have Pastor Mark Holman here from the Northeastern Baptist Church. And just in a moment, I'm going to ask him to come forward to provide an invocation. And when I do, please stand for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pastor Holman.
Let's pray. O great God and Father, King of the universe, we humbly come before you today, understanding that you're in control of all things, you see all things, you know all things. We thank you, Lord. We thank you for the good things that you've given to us in our lives. We thank you for the knowledge of yourself that you've hardwired into each one of us. We know something of you because of how you've revealed yourself to us. And I pray, Father, that we would not suppress that information. I pray, Father, for, Lord, we need you. We don't know how much we need you, but we acknowledge our dependence humbly before you tonight. And I pray for this commission. I pray for what they do. I pray for our mayor and vice mayor. Lord, I lift up our justices and our justice building and our prosecutors. And I pray that they might continue to rule with justice. I pray for this commission as they make important decisions and manage and administer a great amount of money. I pray, Father, that you give them wisdom. You're the source of wisdom. I pray that you give them integrity and a love for this city and its people. I thank you again for their work and for their service. And Lord, we pray for our nation's leaders. We've been commanded to pray for them no matter their party affiliation. So we pray for our president and vice president. We pray for all men for their salvation. And we thank you, God. Once again, we just thank you for the life and breath and health that you've given us and the times that we live in. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you again, Pastor Holman. I appreciate you being here. It's a rarity. We actually don't have proclamations this evening, but we are honored to have guests with us. And even though it's not mentioned here on our agenda, I first want to recognize the fact that Now Kalamazoo, which is a local publication, gaps that we have lost in some of our very, very important public press side of things, is doing a meeting-to-meeting tour around the county, I believe, and we are honored to have a group that's being encouraged by Now Kalamazoo at our meeting tonight and to witness and perhaps participate. So welcome those of you that are part of the Now Kalamazoo crew. And then on our agenda, we have the Youth Juvenile Justice Fellows from the Lewis Walker Institute for Race and Ethnic Relations at Western Michigan University. And that team is here. I know I saw Ifancio Harris, who will be pulling that together. If you want to come forward at this point, this would be a good time. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Hello, hello, testing. All right. Hello, everybody, commissioners. Thank you so much for your time, your willingness to have us here. My name is Mariana Bringas, and I am the program coordinator for the Youth Juvenile Justice Fellows. I am proudly representing Western Michigan University and the Lewis Walker Institute. I wanted to give you just a brief introduction of our fellows, which are brilliant young men who have not only dedicated their time, have invested their energy, their attention, not only to become better for themselves, but to become advocates for youth here in the community. I would like to first introduce our group one, who will be speaking to you about a topic that's dear to them.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Hello, Kalamazoo commissioners. My name is Alvanir Azari.
Hello, my name is Dontre Henfield.
My name is Maurice Frank.
Okay, so we are all from Kalamazoo and proudly represent the Walker Institute. And we also represent the Youth Juvenile Justice Fellows. We came to highlight the benefits of mentorship programs for youth. Mentorship is healthy, especially for men of color. As a young person who has dealt with a lot in the past, I know that one-on-one mentorship gives you a boost. Either if it's physical or mental, mentorship gives you someone to look up to.
Statistically speaking, creating and sustaining mentorship programs benefits pre-college and post-college enrollments. With students who have had a mentor shows higher rates of college graduation than students who have not received mentorship.
The power of mentorship has shown improvement, self-esteem, and better academic performances. It also helps cultural connections and more positive social connections.
Commissioners, what we're trying to say here is it's easier to raise strong children and youth through early and ongoing investment than to repair broken men later on. Mentorship is always one of the ways that has helped us in the past and will continue to help us in our future.
Hello, Kalamazoo Commissioners. My name is Kiwan Green.
Hello, Kalamazoo Commissioners. My name is Aries Jackson.
Hello, my name is Daniel McDonald.
We are from Kalamazoo and proudly represent the Lewis Walker Institute, and we are a part of the Youth Juvenile Justice Fellows. We came to talk to you all today about creating a male mentorship program in Kalamazoo schools to help contribute to improvement in the youth of our community.
Throughout our research, we have found that youth who receive mentorship are 55% more likely to enroll in college, have positive attitudes in school, and are also more likely to complete college. I also feel that male mentorship is important because I've seen it change people close to me for the better.
The mentorship has helped me personally while growing up. Having coaches helped me become a better version of myself by taking time to know me, and they have also helped me at better things other than sports, like becoming a man and growing up. And growing up, seeing people get hurt and killed in the community has made me want to step more into mentorship, so I can have a more successful guide to success. More of a guide to success and a safe upbringing.
Effective membership promotes success and power in the community. For many black male youths, it's a blessing to see a day past 18. With effective male mentorship programs, this reality could be put into the past. Thank you, Commissioners.
As you heard, a lot of the things that the youth spoke about today are very personal and dear to them, not only for themselves, but within their community. So I ask you to take their calls to action very seriously. This program was designed because there is a need for youth voices in places where decisions are taking account. Other than that, I want to thank you for your time, and we do have a small gift of our appreciation. We will leave it with our beloved Dr. Cooney, who is part of our staff and one of our doctorate fellows. Other than that, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I know from all of us here, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to come down here. There was actually a very recent event up at Western recognizing the Lewis Walker Institute. What was the anniversary? 35. Yes. Great work. Appreciate everyone's effort. So thanks once again for joining us. Now we are down to the adoption of the formal agenda. Are there any items that need to be moved from G, the consent agenda, to H, the regular agenda?
Mayor.
Yes, Manager Ritzma.
I'm requesting that item G6, which is approval of a resolution adopting a project plan for wastewater system improvements, be moved to the regular agenda under H and will become item H7. Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, any other items that you would like to see moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda? All right. With that one change, the agenda stands. Communications, Manager Ritzma.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for public comments at this business meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission. So just a reminder that this is an opportunity for anyone to speak on the topic of their choice. You will have 4 minutes. Please give us your name and whether you live in the city. And it is not a time where there will be dialogue. You can certainly ask questions if you would like, but it isn't a time for dialogue. It's a time for you to express your thoughts and feelings here to the City Commission. Anyone who wants to take advantage of this public comment time?
Hello, my name is Andrew Lehman. I moved here to Kalamazoo in 1984. My kids went to Woodward, Hillside, and K Central. They got a great education. Their eyes were opened in many ways. And so in the ways that my eyes were not open growing up in a farm in southwestern Wisconsin, I'll tell you that, in an all-white environment. I'm here to speak about the Civil Rights Board. It's all our goal is for that to be an effective body. We're all wanting that to happen. I made a few calls today to 4 cities in Alabama: Anniston, Montgomery, Selma, and Birmingham. There's not a civil rights board in any one of those 4 cities. There is a human rights board in Birmingham. So we are on the way, but we have a ways to go. After hearing the comments last week, I had some things I wanted to say and some questions. In the last 4.5 years, there have been 2 deliberations, apparently, that have been decided out of 126 complaints. Many of those were from outside the city of Kalamazoo, so that's why they were not dealt with. In a city of 80,000 or more than 80,000 people, it seems like 2 determinations in 4.5 years, something's not quite right there. It kind of stretches the credulity. People are being followed as they walk through stores. People are being slow walked as they apply for mortgages. Things are not near perfect. We have a ways to go. It appears that one individual makes the decision as to what happens regarding a complaint that gets to the Civil Rights Board. The Civil Rights Board, without seeing or discussing the complaint, passes it on to the city attorney and then waits to hear what the decision is of the city attorney. Civil Rights Board appears to be basically functioning as a mail slot. This needs to change. I do not know the individual holding that position of the city attorney. I would hope he wants, and I trust he wants, to do the very best in dealing with the complaints that come his way. I question, though, about what his experience and knowledge and expertise is in dealing with these matters. Was his competency in these areas explored in the interview process? Has he had any anti-racist training from Erase or Isaac or any other training source? I don't know his background. I don't want to be unfair to him. but we all see with the lens we have. Many people have very limited vision because of their lack of exposure to cultures other than the white-dominated one. Until we have the opportunity and the courage to put ourselves in positions to have our eyesight and our eye lenses collectively stretched, we're going to see and make decisions based on our white-dominated past. We do not know what we do not know. I would like to call for a collaborative effort between the City Attorney's Office and the Civil Rights Board members, dialogue, discussion, and communication. It might not always be comfortable for everyone, but these complications are necessary, these communications are necessary.
Thank you very much. Your 4 minutes is up, so yeah, thank you. Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening to our mayor, our vice mayor, commissioners, and staff. My name is Charlay Davis with Isaac. I want to start off by extending gratitude to Commissioner Cooney and Commissioner Hoffman for their ideas and support of the Civil Rights Board, such as a joint committee, the board being fully seated and supported, and also the courage to question the systemic practices that don't always serve our community members, nor make changes that dismantle inequities. With that, I also want to say thank you to the chair of our Civil Rights Board, Kathy Faison, and to the awesome Civil Rights Board directors as well, who are working collectively and working hard, remaining steadfast and tirelessly working because they care about our community. So you all, we are at the point right now where equitable progress is possible, yet what we see many times in real time is when individuals address or they challenge a system, even a system that has some admirable movement, is that we see backlash. Whether that's intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter because it's toxic. I could survey this chamber right now and I could ask BIPOC individuals and white individuals who address and challenge systems, who move against the grain, who have to stand alone many times standing for what is right and for change. I could ask them and I know that they experience the backlash, the silencing, the ignoring, the anger, and the fragility. And sadly, this happens at times in these meetings and behind closed doors. So Layla Saad, the author of Me and White Supremacy, and you all received a book and a journal as well, she said on day 20 that the following are reactions when there's a calling in or a calling out of harmful behavior or practices. The first one says becoming defensive, derailing, crying, falling silent, or dramatically leaving a space or a conversation. Next, focusing on the intent while ignoring or minimizing the impact. Tone policing of BIPOC individuals, but claiming that you're being attacked or characterizing a person as that is calling you out as aggressive or irrational. Also denying that actions are biased because you don't see color, i.e. color blindness. Also, talking about all the good things that you've done for BIPOC. And then lastly, talking more than listening to those who are impacted. So just observing and taking a moment to listen and reflect, these things alone can change the lens and the discussions that we're having. And it can make our work and our conversations less toxic and harmful to those who are impacted, those who are speaking out against systemic harm, and the BIPOC community and leaders. It can open possibilities of new ideas and also work to address rooted problems. So lastly, I was pleased to see and thank you, Mayor, for approving the recommendation of Ursula to the Civil Rights Board. I want to say something clearly. We know that there are disparities, and because folks have communicated that to us again and again in listening sessions, during canvassing, and one-on-one, even present day, that's been said before. But as we know, things have already gotten worse. And so that's why we need the Civil Rights Board in collaboration with you all and the Civil Rights Board members. We need the Civil Rights Board's members and their expertise, their new ideas, their equity lens, their lived experiences. It needs to be listened to and not shut down. Again, I invite you to look at day 20 in Layla's paperback book, 162.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Maggie Adams, and I do reside in the city, and I'm a member of Isaac. I also want to thank you for placing the recommendation of Ursula Mordoa on the agenda for tonight's meeting. She'll make an excellent addition and asset to the Civil Rights Board. I had nothing better to do on Sunday, but I reviewed Attorney Lill's presentation to this City of the Whole on Monday, and the legal opinion of Attorney General Frank Kennedy from 1978, and whether or not the Civil Rights Board could be a quasi-judicial board. And yes, and in conclusion, the city has no authority to grant the Civil Rights Board the ability to enforce civil rights at the local level. So instead of thinking about what we can't do, I was thinking about, is there anything in this legal opinion that could assist our Civil Rights Board to actually put teeth into their ability to address and resolve discrimination complaints, that people actually feel like the city is helping them and keeping, as Commissioner Hoffman always reminds us, keeping Kalamazoo first. And certainly, Commissioner Cooney, maybe this is something your committee can also look into, because in this opinion, this legal opinion, there are 3 things in there that are lifted up 3 times that even Attorney Leal lifts up that boards can do, advisory boards can do. So I think we should focus on what we can do, and this aligns with Article 7, Section B in our civil rights bylaws. The first time it appears, it says, let it be noted that the Detroit Human Rights Commission may educate, counsel, and request voluntary compliance with provision of civil rights. Later in there, it says ordinances such as those creating a Human Relations Commission, which has as its primary purpose education, counseling, conciliation, mediation, again, ways to respond, are all within the authority of the city. The third time I saw it is the Human Relations Committee created by the ordinance in order to fulfill its function of education, conciliation, and mediation, again, must be able to ascertain facts. So it adds to it that you have the right to include investigations. So in an effort to keep Kalamazoo first, I'm wondering, what does this look like for Kalamazoo then? A complaint's filed, there's an investigation, the Civil Rights Board hears the complaint. As you also said, there should be a right to due process. So that everybody is heard, with a decision then made by the Civil Rights Board that may result in some of this language that I just said. That's a way of responding and handling some of the discrimination here, voluntary compliance, mediation, conciliation, and so on, to resolve complaints. People then would then feel heard, and this might also really help the board feeling like they have some teeth. So the question is, where are the complaints? I know, Attorney Leal, you said there were 126 in the last 4.5 years, which made me think at first, like, wow, we must have no discrimination in Kalamazoo, which we know is not true. So the question is, if 87 are deemed not actionable and only 9 cases are actually investigated and only 2 given to the Civil Rights Board, I hope there's a review a bit internally about what barriers might be in place that are preventing things from being filed or actually brought to the Civil Rights Board. You concluded that the data suggests a lack of awareness of chapters 18 and 18A, as 57 fell outside the scope. I don't disagree then. I definitely agree that education is needed, but let's remember, education is not the only reason people are not coming forward. Education does not address systems that have systemic issues, which is what we often found in housing inequities, and lasting effects of past discriminatory practices, which often leave those very people you want to file a complaint not filing as they continue to be harmed and let down by biased practices. So yes, education is a tool, it's just not the solution. So let's find ways to not only educate those that are affected by discrimination, but those in positions to discriminate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. Toby Hannah Davies. Yes, I'm a city resident. Can you all imagine what if you had done something when you were young and you got caught? Something wrong before your frontal lobe had fully developed. What if that prevented you from getting decent housing for the rest of your life? No housing for yourself, no housing to support your family, your relatives that needed you. Or if you were innocent, but you were caught up in the criminal justice system and you accepted a plea bargain because you were pressured to do that and were fearful of what a jury would decide against you because you were black or brown. What if you were innocent and for the rest of your life you could not get decent housing, only slumlord housing, if any? That's what's happening in our community right now. And we are very privileged to have a strong, wonderful housing equity ordinance that makes discrimination against people who have any kind of arrest record illegal if it's blanket rejection of everyone with a record. The ordinance never said that landlords, property managers have to accept everyone who has a record or everyone that has a voucher, but it does say they need to consider the circumstances. We need you to figure out how to make that enforceable. It's really important to your constituents, many, many of your constituents, because we've had mass incarceration since the 80s. I read to you last Monday from the first chapter of this book by Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow, about mass incarceration. She says that everything, every kind of discrimination that used to be legal under Jim Crow is now legal if you have a criminal record. And that discrimination is legal for the rest of your life. And the drug war has been very, very unfairly applied to our black and brown youth. And our white youth have done the same things, have not been caught or not been punished severely or at all. This is really important to trust building with the community that you can do if you can find ways that we can have the Civil Rights Board very involved in the process, making a decision through a racial equity lens, making recommendations to you on what can be done with certain kinds of cases. Thank you for the let me get it right, the resolution declaring gun violence a public health crisis that was written by County Board Chair Tammy Ray and Hope Through Navigation CEO Gwendolyn Hooker.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, I go by Kay. I was at the Kalamazoo Citizens Public Safety Review and Appeal Board on Tuesday, and it was very triggering to be there, and it was just the same things that I heard from my appeal, excusing police brutality with criticizing community's First Amendment rights. Like, rights were violated, and community has the right to be upset, and that is used to excuse police brutality. And it was a lot of the same excuses, and like the officer can get a break, but the citizen has to be held to how upset they are after their rights have been violated. And I want to read some quotes from the OIR report, because I want to know where all these organizations that are affiliated with police are when it comes to these kinds of issues, right? It says, though these individuals had distinctive backgrounds, they shared the view that KDPS had fallen short in one or more ways last summer when the Proud Boys came, and how they handled the George Floyd murder protest, right? In spite of having many strengths as an agency, and more importantly, they also believe that KDPS has significantly exacerbated any shortcomings through a combination of defensiveness, tone deafness, and seeming indignation. To them, it was KDPS's poor communication and an unwillingness to engage with criticism that ended up leaving a worse impression than any qualms they may have had about the original enforcement actions. This viewpoint that merits attention. KDPS was less accommodating and collaborated with the OIR report process than other departments. The OIR group found that their interactions with KDPS matched the experience of several people. A certain insularity, unease with transparency, and reluctance to acknowledge even the possibility of a fault. If KDPS had any attributes, they are undermined by a heightened sense of sensitivity to challenge and even well-meaning questioning, and a measure of tone deafness with regard to community concerns and evolving expectations. We encourage KDPS to build on its strengths by embracing a paradigm of clear communication, receptivity, rigorous self-scrutiny, and openness to reform. And I could keep going. There's so much. That was like the underlying theme of this report, and I see it when I see this board that is just a smoke screen for excusing police brutality. And that you represent the city. They represent you. KDPS is a ticking time bomb. And what happened with that family and that white lady who threatened the kids and all that, that just shows the racial tensions. Things are not getting any better. And we should expect more from people who are supposed to be de-escalating. And just like the failures of this city for Black and brown people as well. It just shows in the way that policing is, in the housing crisis, the ALICE statistics. All of these things show that y'all depend on criminalizing, right? Using the resisting and obstructing charge as a way to facilitate the criminalization of Black men in this city. And I want to say that it is just getting worse. It's not going to get better based on what I saw at this Citizens Review Board, based on what Inspector Chuck Mason said. The same things he said at my appeal were said at this meeting, and it was very, very disappointing. This city needs to do better with their policing problem, because it is not going to get better. It's going to get worse, and we don't want to have a repetition of Grand Rapids with Patrick Leoya. And I'm saying that seriously, based on, I want everybody to watch that.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Carolyn Peshek, and I am not a resident of Kalamazoo. I'm a resident of Portage, and serve on the Isaac Housing Task Force. And as such, I go to a lot of the Portage City Council meetings as a representative on housing. And the ordinance that was originally passed in Kalamazoo and then was going to be amended, and I don't know exactly where that is. The Portage City Council said, let's wait until the amendments have gone through to that ordinance so that we have something to base an ordinance in Portage. And I can't go back to the Portage City Council and get a housing discrimination ordinance passed unless you guys get it together and get an ordinance that works in Kalamazoo. So this is, if you get an ordinance that works in Kalamazoo, that gives other communities, not only in this area, but throughout the state, something to work from. But first, you got to get an ordinance that actually helps people get into housing without being discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Yes, is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Maurice Frank. I've been a resident of Kalamazoo. I've been born and raised here. And one thing Ms. Hannah Davis has brought to my attention with housing is apartment issues and rent due. I'm proposing an idea of cap on rent. And I say this because as I pay attention to the rent prices, they are raising slightly higher and higher each month. Back in the day when I was a kid, me and Mom used to pay $6.75 for rent. But now we're bringing up to the future and the present, plus inflation. First, we moved into our apartment, we were paying $8.60. Now, in the present today, we are paying more than $1,200 for our apartment rent. I feel that we should propose an idea for cap on rent due, and thank you for bringing. I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Shona Espinoza. I'm so glad that young man came up here and spoke, and he's recognizing what we see, that rent is too damn high, that there is a houseless and a homeless situation going on outside. There is extremely too many barriers that have been put in place, continue to be put in place to keep people unhoused, rent being too high, no place to go. This is something that should be worked out within the community in this commission. There should be a sit down to figure out what is going on, how to fix it. There is a housing crisis that is beyond, it's extremely bad. There's no words for it. And this is something that we bring up time and time again. But what is the solution? We're criminalizing our unhoused because they're sleeping on a bench. They're outside. We're tearing their tents down. We're kicking their stuff around. How is that helping? KDPS is out here criminalizing our unhoused or those that are trying to help. What I've noticed, I've been getting a lot of tickets lately for the most dumbest things. I was taking one of our unhoused friends to the hospital. I didn't accidentally slow all the way down at the stop sign, but I was taking him to the hospital. So how is that helpful when we have an unhoused friend that needs to go to the hospital? This commission needs to do better. This commission needs to understand and hold themselves accountable. That there's too many things that you guys aren't doing or willing to do or think it's okay that the citizens and other orgs in this city are doing your job. We shouldn't be down here every single day making sure that our unhoused friends have food, have water, are okay. There was just a storm. What do you think they did for those that were outside? My power just got turned on. It's been 4 days, literally just before I came here. So I know if I struggled and I was inside, can you just imagine what our friends did outside? It's crazy, it's sad, it's pathetic. You guys really need to do better. Please do better. It's election year. There's several of y'all up for re-election. There's several of y'all that people want to take your seats and should take your seats because you're not feeling the obligation that you said that you were due when you were voted into office. That's a poor excuse to be voted in and not do your job. That's just like me going to work, not fulfilling my duties, but I'll get fired. But guess what? We're going to vote each of you out one by one if you guys do not stand up, hold each other accountable, and do your job. It's important. There should not be not one child outside on these streets, no matter what is going on with their guardian. We should be finding them help, mental help, housing, whatever it takes, go the extra mile. We see what this administration is doing. It's tearing everything apart. And because of this administration, we more now than ever, we have no faith in this commission at all. We do not think at all that this commission will hold up or do anything that will protect their citizens unless you're a white male or a white person that has money in this city. Do better by your citizens.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, everybody. It's me again, Tina McClinton. I live on Lake Street. I live in the low-lying area of Kalamazoo where it floods all the time. Now in your ponds, you have a whole bunch of trees that have fell in the water, let alone your cones that are in there, that's been in there for the longest. You have branches everywhere. I mean, my street looks like a war zone. But if it wasn't for that little natural space, my street would be a lake. We need to stop destroying spaces. We need to stop killing animals' homelands because that's why they're coming in the city. That's why people are complaining about the deer and the animals. They have nowhere else to live. If you keep letting your rich developers build condos on every flat piece of land we have, every green space we have, just like Bright Eyes Brewery, you ran them out of business with the construction and not fixing the flooding. They struggled. You ran them out of business. You bought their property cheap. Now you're going to build the building you're going to build up higher. So where's the water going to go? To the lowest point. Who's the lowest point? Your residents of Kalamazoo. We would like to enjoy the rain like the richer neighborhoods do, like every neighborhood does. But we can't. Every time it rains, we got to pack up and leave or we're stuck. Nobody wants to fix the problems. Your storm drains are plugged. We clean them all the time. There's one right by the city yards. My neighbor was cleaning and the city person rolled by. He said, that ain't gonna do no good. What are you doing? She said, I'm pulling the stuff out of the thing so the water will go down in front of the driveway of the city yards on Lake Street. He said, oh, that ain't gonna do no good. She pulled it all out and guess what happened? The water went down the drain like it's supposed to. It doesn't take much to flood it, but it goes down. It's time, guys. And thank you, Ms. Hess, for asking the question you asked at the last meeting about will this help with the flooding. I appreciate that. Thank you. There's another thing I want to talk about. I agree with that gentleman. Rent is too high in Kalamazoo. That's ridiculous for his rent to go up that high. No wonder there's so many homeless people. No wonder there's so many children out in the streets living. And I agree, that was a rough storm. I wouldn't want to be living out in it. I mean, it did a lot of damage. I lost all the food at my school. I lost power at my school. We had to come up with something to feed the children today. I had to empty out a whole freezer full of food, which hurts because I could have fed a lot of kids with that food. I mean, we got to do better, Kalamazoo. There's too many disasters, too many things happening. We got to help people, not hurt them. And if we don't start doing something for people, it's just going to get worse. And that's all it is around here. Kalamazoo is getting worse and worse and worse. There's places, I don't go downtown. There's nowhere to park. You got the streets all messed up and you're getting ready to mess them up more. I know a whole lot of people that don't go downtown no more because of all that you did downtown. Now you have your friends that will go, the richer ones will go, because they can afford it. They can afford a condo, they can afford this. But you have so many people living out in the streets going hungry every single day. We have a lot of children in school that go hungry until they get to school. I mean, Kalamazoo's got to be better than this. You've got to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Drew Duncan, City of Kalamazoo. I want to extend my sincerest thanks to the commissioners that have met with us, that have been engaging with this body about the Civil Rights Board. While we have not received everything that we wanted, it is appreciated that this board has opened up a line of communication. I've been a loud proponent of coming and criticizing this body when the public does not get what it wants. So I think we need to be just as loud in our thanks. I was not able to attend the last commission meeting, but another sense of appreciation is the thorough response by the commission to educate the public on the CRB and the reach or lack thereof that board has. After that meeting, the conversations that have been happening in the community around how we move forward with this board have shifted. I think a lot of that has to do with the education that's come from this body. So that's a huge appreciation from the public that you may not get from anybody else. And a special thank you to Commissioner Hoffman, who took a meeting with us to talk about measures moving forward. 2 minutes, okay. Second, I attended the Reimagine 2035, and again, another thanks to the city staff. I got the opportunity to talk to Director of Zoning, which was completely eye-opening about how some of the things are shifting in the city. And one of the things that was brought up at our table, which was government operation, I think the name of the table was this dialogue that the city has put into its master plan. So we're looking to adopt vaguely, I don't want to misquote this body, but there's in the master plan this plan to engage the public, be responsive, communicate with the public. So we spoke about how that burden should not all be on the commission. So as a citizen, I would love for this commission to consider in the future maybe having before or after this meeting a space, a dedicated time where people can engage with city officials that are not elected, because a lot of the frustrations that we're seeing can be answered by a 10-minute conversation with somebody who's in a department. And when the only opportunity that the public has is 4 minutes at this podium twice a month, it's likely that you aren't going to get their best thoughts. You're going to get the freshest thought. So just something to consider. We also talked about how maybe installing liaisons in the 311 public. But I think if we're putting, communication public, but I think if we're putting, communication and community responsiveness in our master plan, we have to be imaginative about what that looks like. But again, lastly, I just again want to thank this body for hearing the public on the issue. We may not always like the answer, but we appreciate an answer coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. You get to see my beautiful face yet one more time. I wanted to take 4 minutes of bravery. There is a lot of anger within the community because there is action that is being taken, but maybe it's not being entirely publicized. And this is regarding the unhoused population here in Kalamazoo. I'm a former foster care support worker. I'm a former case manager. And let me tell you that I have a lot of families who are trying to get their kids back, but they cannot because they cannot afford a home. Or if they have access to the shelters, they have to subscribe to a certain religious practice that they don't feel comfortable. And I don't think it's fair that the public has to succumb their own religious preferences, their own values, just to receive shelter. At the end of the day, it's said that initiatives are from the ground up, that we, the public, have to band together and unite and make things happen. But I truly believe that it has to be top down in these regards. I cannot fathom the amount of funds that it would take to truly get everybody housed. But I can tell you that what I'm asking for is to figure out how we can give people the access to bathrooms, access to hygiene, maybe vouchers for laundry. Is it access to lockers so their stuff isn't just out and about getting dirty? Safe places to sleep. We're talking about shaded areas. We're talking about benches. We're talking about coaching. There's a lot of things that don't have to be extremely expensive for you guys to find the money. However, I do want to say that the funding can be found if the need is primordial in your brains, in your minds. Kalamazoo has trailblazed through so many initiatives, and I can point out to the Kalamazoo Promise that now it's being taken over in Pittsburgh as well. So why can we not trailblaze in other areas, especially for our unhoused population? I am a current Master of Social Work student, and this is one of the topics that is closest to heart because I know how vibrant Kalamazoo is. But for some reason, there is a hesitance in returning humanity to this population particularly. All I want to say at the end of the day is that there is a lot of excitement, there is a lot of readiness to make this change, but it does require our leaders to have that buy-in into that change. The funding can be found. I saw kind of the agenda and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be put towards repairing buildings. Why can we not build bathrooms? Why can we not build lockers? I'm a former case manager, and let me tell you that my time gets cut once my billable hours are met. So even though I have a family that requires more of my time, I cannot give it because then I won't get paid. So it cannot be left to the public to make these changes. At the end of the day, and I've said this 1,000 times, is I know we can do it. Let's band together. Think about the right to life that we just pledged our allegiance to, but what kind of life is that? To live outside in a broken trash bag, fearing for when you're gonna sleep at night, fearing if you're gonna have a safe place to go for your children to come and visit you? I know we can do it. Don't leave it up to the students with the initiative and the energy. I don't wanna get burnt out, and I know you all have so much wisdom to lend out. So please take action, not only for our future, but for the youth that I'm here representing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, City Commission. I'm gonna say first off, my name is Kathy Faison. I live in Township. A lot of my work is intentional. Within the city, I work with Isaac. I am the Executive Director for Participatory Defense Movement Kalamazoo, as well as the Chair for the Civil Rights Board. Coming in here today, I didn't plan on speaking. I just felt mentally drained. But just watching people get up and people speak is what has me up here right now. So this has been disheartening going back and forth, but I also say a blessing because we will have a full board before the end of this year is out. This has encouraged people to come in, lift voices, just to hear the kids. And so I want to say thank you to the city, to the community that is coming up here and is speaking out as well. I want to thank every commissioner, vice mayor, mayor, for the time that you have taken to spend with us, have conversations, because we need to make sure that we are making these changes. One of the questions is we talked about education, we talked about moving forward. Commissioner Cooney, Commissioner Prado, you both stated that it would be something you would be willing to work on. My question is when? I'm a today girl, so we need to try to get something on the schedule to try to get stuff moving forward, because we are listening, we are hearing what's going on. The only issue that I can really say that I have is the fact that we don't get a lot of feedback. So I'm gonna lift you up and I'm gonna really say thank you, Commissioner Hoffman, thank you, Commissioner Cooney, because sometimes we need intentional conversations. We need intentional feedback from commissioners on what we are speaking on. Maybe take time, look at Portage. Portage they will communicate. And sometimes it's being put on the spot, but that's also no different than you being put on the spot last commission meeting, Attorney Leal. And it was good to be able to ask questions. It was good to be able to get feedback. We have a crisis here, and we have the ability to make some changes. Community want changes. We need changes. As you hear, nobody should be sleeping on the street. Kids should not be sleeping on the street. And it's not about a haircut, it's not about socks, it's about people really living and needing to survive. We have to get to the root of our disparities, because we can't continue to keep putting the Band-Aid over what's going on in our community. So as a commission, I'm asking you, stand up for your city. Let's make a difference, because under new administration, we've got to fight even harder. And I want to see the dog in all y'all, because I got the dog in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Is there anyone else in the chambers who'd like to take advantage of this public comment period? Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone that took the time and made the effort to come down here to this City Commission meeting and provide your thoughts and concerns. Next is the consent agenda. Manager Ritzma.
The following items are being presented for approval. First is the approval of a contract with Great Lakes Systems Incorporated to replace roof sections 1, 2, and 3 at the 415 East Stockbridge Administration Building in the amount of $143,530. Next is the approval of a contract with Hall Builders, LLC for the reconstruction of the Millen Park Restroom Building in the amount of $191,000. Next is the approval of a professional services agreement with Tetra Tech Incorporated for the water treatment plant number 25 electrical reliability project design in the amount of $397,000. Next is the adoption of a resolution approving a neighborhood enterprise zone rehab certificate application at 234 and 238 East Michigan Avenue in the downtown neighborhood within the City Center NEZ district. Next is the adoption of a resolution approving 2 neighborhood enterprise zone rehab certificate applications at 111 Portage Street in the downtown neighborhood within the City Center NEZ district. Next is the adoption of a resolution adopting a project plan for water system, I'm sorry, that one's been moved. Acceptance of, next is acceptance of a donation from the O'Connor Fund to the Historic Preservation Commission in the amount of $25,000 and amend the Historical Commission funded budget. And finally, approval of the mayor's appointment of Ursula Moore Doyle to the Civil Rights Board for a term expiring on March 31, 2027.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items 1 through 5 and 7 and 8 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Cooney. Supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Clerk Boylan, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker. Yes. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The items on the consent agenda are approved. Now we're at the regular agenda. City Manager Ritzma.
Item H1 is approval of a contract with Reith Riley for asphalt paving materials in the amount of $1,494,500.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. A rather perfunctory item, but is there any additional staff report on this item?
Our Public Services Director, James Baker, is available if there are any questions, but there's no presentation.
Okay, thank you, Manager Ritzma. Any questions, Commissioners, on this expenditure? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item? That's item H1. If so, please come to the podium, state your name, whether you live in the city, and you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion, Commissioners?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson,
Support.
supported by Vice Mayor Hess. Any discussion, Commission? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H2. Manager Ritzma.
Approval of a 3-year contract with Michigan Pipe and Valve Incorporated for manhole castings in the amount of $1,655,541.16.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. I presume there's no special report on this, but are there any questions from commissioners on this particular item? Seeing none, now is the opportunity for anybody who's here in the chambers who wants to comment on this item, H2. If so, please come forward. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is the motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradel.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Cooney. Any discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next is agenda item H3. City Manager Ritzma.
Approval of a contract with Tyler Technologies for an enterprise resource planning system in the amount of not to exceed $2,916,686.
Thank you. Is there a staff report on this item?
Yes, our CFO, Steve Asensi, will be giving a brief presentation on this item. Steve?
Welcome, Mr. Vicinci. Good to have you here.
Hello. Good evening. So just a kind of brief highlight where we've been with this project. So this project is going to be updating our core financial software, our accounting, our general ledger, budgeting, grants, project tracking, and we'll see a huge increase in functionality in our purchasing side of the software as well. It moves everything to the cloud for us, so it allows us to offload that responsibility from our internal IT infrastructure to a cloud-based software that will allow us to work from anywhere as we need to. Really, we've been working on this project since about the fourth quarter of 2023, where we engaged all staff and departments to kind of work through what their needs and wants were for future ERP software. From there, we put together an RFP that went out publicly and was bid on. We had 8 qualified bidders, and then from that point forward, we had about 3 different rounds of demonstrations and questions that we went back and forth with. So we've truly spent a lot of time vetting this upgrade. And one additional piece of information, as you may already know, our current software is sunsetting in 2027, so it's going to take us about 12 to 15 months to go through a full implementation once we sign on to this contract, so we're expecting to be live by January 1 of 2027. So.
Thank you so much. Questions for Mr. Vicenci at this time? Yes, Commissioner Pradel.
Thank you, Steve, for being here. Just to clarify as well, when you see the $2.9 million amount, it's a very large amount, obviously, but to put it into some perspective, it looks like just over $600,000 as part of the installation and transition costs associated with it, and then it's about $220,000, give or take, per year over the course of 10 years, and that makes up the amount, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct, and that's a little bit higher than what we're paying today, but with any upgrade, you do expect to pay a little bit more, especially because with the on-cloud version versus on-premises, we don't have those local costs that we have to absorb.
And as you mentioned, this is in anticipation of that sunsetting or retiring of the current system in 2027, which sounds like a long way off, but as intensive as the system is and as much as baked into it, that's going to be here before we know it, I would imagine. So this is anticipation of that and giving plenty of runway in front before it expires, if that's correct.
Yep, and that's the whole idea. Really, we started this over a year ago, and this is how long it took us just to get to a selection.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, Commission? Thank you, sir. Seeing no more questions, is there anyone here in the chambers who'd like to comment on this item? This is item H3. Looks like this is not 6 commenters on item H3, but people who are leaving. So seeing that there will not be comments, the recommended action, Commissioners, is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Hess.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Pradel. Discussion, Commissioners? I guess I just want to say one thing. I appreciate all the time and effort that went into this. It's extremely important. It's indeed a lot of money, but I think it was important to remark about the period of time that this is over, Commissioner Pradel, and the fact that right now we will be moving away from having to manage our own storage and keeping those servers going. So I think that seems like a good move. Clerk Boren, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next, item H4, Manager Ritzma.
Adoption of a supplemental notice of intent resolution for the issuance of 2025 capital improvement bonds in an amount not to exceed $10,300,000.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Any details to be provided by staff at this point?
Yeah, CFO Vicenci will give an overview of this item.
Appreciate that. Welcome back.
Yep. So just to start, we came back in March for the initial notice of intent to bond, which was in line with our capital plan that was approved as part of the budget. As we moved through this year, we've had a couple of projects that, we need additional funding for. So one project is our West Edge Phase 0, which you heard about last week. Improvements to West Edge. We had a grant for that work. Due to the timing of needing to get that work done, we need to be able to provide the money as a city at this point, and then we are working with our grantor to see if we can move that grant to a future phase of the project. So hopefully ending up at a net zero difference for that portion of these bonds in the long run. And then the other portion was for the Crosstown repurposing project. Staff had worked really hard with our architects to try to value engineer a number of areas of that project. As we get closer to bidding time with some of the unknowns in the economy and tariffs and everything else, it was deemed that we need additional funds to complete that project. That bid is planned to go out later this summer, and we'll find out the exact amount at that point. Asking now for additional time or additional funds to potentially bond for as that bid comes in now to keep us on track with our timeline to obtain bonds this year. Because as you know, this is just the first part of our bonding process. We need to wait 45 days to see if there's any public referendum on the bonds. If not, then we can move forward. So, if I wait any longer at this point, then we're potentially jeopardizing the timing of getting bonds on schedule for 2025. I'll open up for any questions at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Vicenci. Questions? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Real quick question. You talked about the grants and how you're working with the grant funder to see if you can move those funds to a different aspect of the project. What happens if we can't move those funds to a different aspect of the project? What would we be looking for? Then we'd be bonding out again, or how would it then get paid for if we weren't able to move those funds around?
So at that point, we'd be working with future capital plans to reduce other projects or reduce potentially value engineer other parts of this project as we possibly could. Unfortunately, we're at a timeline right now that if this work doesn't happen this year, it pushes back every phase that's thereafter and would potentially, be catastrophic to the overall planning to the downtown street network.
Do you have any idea of when you're going to know an answer from the grant funder?
I do not. We have been, seeking, this amendment for a few months now. They've been slow to react, and so that's where we'll continue to pursue that method first. If that doesn't happen, then we'll be looking at, other offsets that could be done in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Other questions? Commissioner Pradel.
Yes, Steve, just to clarify too, as well, for the $6 million needed for the Crosstown repurposing project, can you kind of describe that? Is that $6 million based on is the $6 million itself the anticipated additional cost, or is that the all-in project expense?
That's the additional cost. The all-in project is going to be somewhere around $13 million. That includes renovating the entire space, re-roofing, any HVAC electrical needs that need to be done as well.
So the $6 million is sort of a supplemental from the initial estimates that project is just anticipated cost $6 million more than initially thought.
Correct, and we'll see where the final bids actually come in later this year. If they come in less, we'll obviously pull down on the amount we need to bond.
That was going to be my next question. If it ends up being less than anticipated, then but there you just answered that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other questions on this item? Thank you, Mr. Sensei. With no more questions, is there anyone here in the chambers who would like to comment on this item? That's item H4. Seeing no one, commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to adopt. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Decker. Other discussion, commissioners? All right, seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hess. Yes. Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H5. City Manager Ritzma.
First, H5 is first reading of an ordinance to rezone all the properties on Roscam Court, Millard Court, and 736 East Crosstown Parkway from manufacturing limited M-1 to live work 1 and manufacturing general M-2 and schedule a public hearing for June 2nd, 2025.
Thank you. I see that we most certainly must have a staff report on this item.
Yeah, our Assistant City Planner, Bobby Durkee, is going to give an overview of this item.
Welcome, Mr. Durkee.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. I didn't prepare a presentation for this. It was a rather boilerplate rezoning. A little bit of background for this one. In January of this year, using 311, 2 residents that live on the street reached out about a vacant lot, developing a house with the goal of developing an adult foster care home. Sounds like they worked in the industry, looking to make that leap and operate their own. They got a hold of our zoning administrator, found out the property is zoned M1, which is manufacturing. And obviously in the M1 zone, a house can remain, but you can't permit a new house. And if you look at the staff report, it's basically like a little cul-de-sac, residential wedged between manufacturing to the east and live work zoning to the south and west. So looking at that and the rezoning, I think what occurred, or how this area is still, how is it still manufacturing all these years? Many, many years ago, blanket zoning, so this part of the town was zoned manufacturing as far back as the 50s, as far as I could tell. When we did the commercial rezoning in October of 2023, it was focused on commercial and residential. And I think just because this was manufacturing, it just slipped under the radar. And then the residential, there's residential houses on the north side of Vine Street there. So looking at the zoning, staff proposed the Live Work 1 zoning. It's a lighter commercial and makerspace residential use. And a topic of discussion that came up at the Planning Commission was, well, Live Work, this could permit something besides residential on this street. And something I put in this and bring up to the commission is Live Work does in fact permit a lot of non-residential uses. However, the form-based codes, as a reminder, there's also what the market or what the structure can support. So would somebody redevelop a residence on a dead-end street for retail and everything to get it commercial viable? Not likely, but the scale of the lots and the buildings there, and there's plenty of residential options, and you could permit residential. Or even if along Crosstown there, if those properties are ever developed in the future. there's options there. However, I did talk to, I believe, 3 residents, including the Moores, over the course of it. One home was glad to hear that because they had invested a lot in it. One neighbor lived on the street, thought it was a good idea, and then the Moores as well live on the street themselves. So that's the background. The Planning Commission, we received 1 public comment against it, and I've kept the Moores up to date on this. And the last thing I would add is using the PPP and working with the Moores for what would be the best way to make the neighbors informed. I believe it was in the staff report. We sent a postcard informational mailer to the neighbors as well. So that's a little bit of background there. If there's any questions on that, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Jerky. Questions? Commissioners? Just to remind us again here, the recommendations coming to us from the Planning Commission.
Yes, so thank you for that. This was heard by the Planning Commission at the April meeting, and the Planning Commission gets much more of the substance and background, and they give a recommendation to the City Commission, and the Planning Commission unanimously provided a favorable recommendation on this request.
Appreciate that information. Any other questions for staff? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jerky. Now is the opportunity for anybody here in the chambers that would like to comment on this item, which is item H5. Please come forward at this time. Seeing no one, commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to offer for first reading and schedule a public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Support.
Okay. Supported by Commissioner Pradel. Any further discussion, commissioners, on this item? Commissioner Pradel.
I was just going to share when Bobby was talking about the Planning Commission and the recommendations. You know, these are our resident experts who really study this, ask a lot of questions about it. So it usually says something if you see unanimously brought forward on an issue like that. In this case, I think it was 9-0.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Just want to remind people that every commissioner up here has relationships as liaisons or voting members on other city boards as well, and Commissioner Pradel is the liaison to the Planning Commission and very responsibly, I think, attends everyone to the end of the meeting and provides the Planning Commission with an update from the City Commission. So thank you for that work, Commissioner Pradel. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker. Yes. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H6, City Manager Risma.
First reading of an ordinance to rezone 802, 814, 822, and 824 South Burdick Street and 107 and 115 West Vine Street from Live Work 1, LW1, to Downtown 3, D3, and schedule a public hearing for June the 2nd, 2025.
Thank you, Manager Risma. Welcome, Mr. Jerky.
Hello again. Another rezoning request, much different request, but different doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. This is a request for the southwest corner of Vine and Burdick. That becomes West Vine and South Burdick. The 6 parcels listed is a little over 1.3 acres. And this block, the east side, is zoned Live Work 1. And to the east and to the north is D3 zoning. And to the west is RM15, which is a residential zoning within, west of the application here. I say that to bring up the layers of different zones here. Earlier this year, I think it was a little later than January, the developer, Jamari Bogan, reached out to the city of Kalamazoo and has been kind of an unofficial large project track on our new development process. So sitting down early with staff, the project was also an historic district. We have there were questions about the zoning and the development scenario, and working on that. we're on that path looking forward for the proposed project. So the first step was the historic approval, and they obtained that. And this request involved the 6 parcels, and the thing that was really sought by the developer was the additional height and stories. And looking at the zoning ordinance, Live Work 1 and D3 are very close, not an exact mirror. There's a couple uses or form types where one is permitted with development standards. That usually means there is something when you permit that you have to do. For example, if you're on a primary street type, you may have to do, have an entrance that faces that road, is just a broad example. So this was at the May 1st Planning Commission meeting. There were 2 members that abstained at this one. The Planning Commission gave a 7-0 favorable recommendation. Trying to think of anything else. There was a little bit of public comment on this one. I was not at the meeting, but I did watch it on YouTube and receive some communications, and there were some neighbors that felt they wanted more notice that it was occurring. And the last thing I would add to this is for the public participation plan, the developer chose to host an event at the Vine Neighborhood Association. They hosted that just a couple days beforehand. They had a series of different tables there, and it sounds like it was fairly successful. And now their next step is to seek the rezoning before that they could enter the site plan review process, seeking a building with that maximum height of 5 stories, because right now the maximum is 3-story in the Live Work 1 zone. And if there's any questions on that, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Durkee. Questions from Commission? Vice Mayor Hess.
Sure. Thank you, Planner Durkee. From what I understand, and most of Jamari's projects include a child care center. Is there a child care center planned for this particular project?
Thank you. Great question. I did not get to uses or what is going into this 5-story building. The proposed building is a 5-story mixed-use building with non-residential on the ground floor, and the primary commercial tenant is a daycare, and I believe the count right now is in the staff report, 80 dwelling units.
Super. Hey, and do you know if the homes on Burdick, are those vacant or will they be vacated?
I believe one of the structures on Burdick is occupied still. I don't recall if I had that exact conversation, but I do remember in my research, I think there's a registered rental over there, and I remember it looking occupied. I believe every other structure is vacant.
Okay, thank you. And this is the first reading, so we have time, but when would this project begin?
I would let the developers speak to specifics. However, the steps of getting board approvals is a first step, site plan review, 6-12 weeks for a complicated project. In theory, without knowing the developer's timeline, they could be on track for putting me on a spot for timing because it's usually long, but they could be in a position at the end of this year, early next year.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hess. Any other questions, Commission? Thank you for your detailed and helpful report. I appreciate that. With no more questions from Commission, is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to comment on this item? This is item H6. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to offer for first reading and schedule a public hearing. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Cooney, supported by Commissioner Wilson. Discussion, Commissioners. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wondering, with those 80 units, what are the affordability limits? Is that already determined?
It would not be determined. Affordability incentives those discussions would happen later.
I see Mr. Bogan in the chambers. Is it okay to give us a little bit more background on the 80 units?
Sure, that'd be helpful. This is, of course, just a reminder, just a rezoning setting of a hearing. So I'm not sure if the development details are fully fleshed out yet or not. And are you willing to speak to that, Mr. Bogan, or you're welcome to if you would like.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners, and good to see you all. The project that we're proposing is called the Be On Verdict. We have some great partners and working with our largest employer in our region to bring this to fruition. This project and its intention is to design to be a workforce housing project. So it's intended to be for folks making between 60 and 120 of average median income.
Thank you, sir. You set with that. Any other questions, commissioners? All right. So I think we're set on that. No other discussion on this particular item. So I just wanted, Commissioner Pradel, did you want to say something?
Sorry, I couldn't remember if we were on question or the...
Okay.
I
lost track too.
No, it's my fault. I think the only thing, so mentioned that there was the 7-0 vote in support. There were 2 abstentions, just potential conflicts. There were some commenters. The main thrust was just wanting to know more information, wanting to have more engagement with the developer. I know that has been in the process and continuing to happen, which I very much appreciate because, just some people who are living around there just want to know what's going up right next door to them. But it's my understanding that that's continuing to happen, and there have been those efforts with the Vine Neighborhood Association. I also want to just mention that this will be another example. I'll regrettably have to abstain from this because Jamari is on the board of directors, which would be my boss, so I'll be abstaining from this.
Okay, makes sense. Just a few comments myself. I did have the opportunity to attend the public information session that was held at the Vine Neighborhood Association. Lots of information, clear, very well, put on, I thought, in terms of providing opportunity. When I was there were certainly residents of the Vine neighborhood, including even adjacent neighbors who took advantage of that extended opportunity to have discussions, ask questions, that sort of thing. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Bogan, for that. And in addition, one thing I have to say that is particularly appealing to me, and this isn't always the case, but we have a local developer who's working on this, and I think that is so important that we're supporting and developing our own capacity here in Kalamazoo. It's not a first-time project either for this gentleman, so already got some experience in building more, and I'm just really proud that we're able to do that and look forward. I know all the architectural designs are not finished, but a general idea, look forward to a beautiful development there that really serves the housing needs of a group of individuals in town. So thank you for your efforts. And I know this is just close to the beginning yet, so have faith and keep working hard on this. Clerk Boylan, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel?
Abstaining.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Now we have one additional item on the regular agenda was item G6. Now it is H7. Manager Isma.
Adoption of a resolution adopting a project plan for water system improvements and designating James J. Baker, P.E., as the authorized project representation.
Thank you, Manager Isma.
Yes. We've got
Director Baker, you going to come up?
Yeah, he's got a brief presentation, and just so folks know, since the Department of Energy, Environment, Energy, and Great Lakes, and Energy from the state is involved, it requires a public input time as well as staff presentation. So I'll give it to you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Manager Isma. Welcome, Mr. Baker.
Thank you very much, and thank you for moving that agenda item for us. We do appreciate that. We've got just a brief presentation here. We're going to talk about some background of the Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund. We're going to talk about the project, give you some project description and project justification, perspectives and justifications. We're going to talk about some examined alternatives, cost and debt repayment, and as well as impacts and mitigation. And of course, as the city manager related to, we'll have a section at the end where the public may comment on this project. So just some background, the city is applying for a drinking water state revolving loan fund. This application is presented to Eagle through a project plan. This is a drinking water project plan. We spoke previously about a wastewater project plan. This is for fiscal year 2026, and this is competitive across all the other water systems in the state of Michigan. So these very competitive applications are based on need, and then that's prioritized throughout the entire state. Once these are turned into the state of Michigan, they'll become ranked, and then our ranking will be determined through the intended use plan, and that IUP or intended use plan kind of details out whether or not we are funded, whether or not we received a low interest loan, and whether or not we received a principal forgiveness or other grant dollars. So this is kind of a all-in-one grant application that goes forward. The information and details presented within this project plan and this presentation are taking the perspective that we did not get any grant or principal forgiveness, and that we're applying for everything as a loan. Even though I say that and talk about that, that doesn't preclude us from getting grant dollars or ARPA dollars or principal forgiveness dollars. So I just want to make that note up front. Some of the background for submitting this funding application includes having that project plan, having a public meeting where the public can comment on that plan, and we can talk about some of the impacts that this plan would have in construction and some of that things that folks may experience in the community. So talk about this project plan specifically. This work is included in our capital improvement plan. This work is also informed by our water asset management plan. It's a holistic approach that we look at across the entire water system and then identify needs. Those needs are then put into the capital improvement plan. Within our capital improvement plan, we really prioritize our most critical projects, our highest needs are then put towards our project plan. So if you look back at our capital improvement program, we've got many lists of different projects, and we have a separate area which is specific to our DWSRF or drinking water improvement project. So this project plan really focuses on continuing our great work in lead service line replacements. We're doing that work now, but this project plan continues that work forward into future years. If you remember last year, we celebrated completing our 5,000th lead service line replacement in Kalamazoo. We've also have contracts in place and budgets kind of planned out already to achieve 7,500 replacements. So this project plan takes us from that 7,500 either completed, funded, or awarded, and then takes it a next step further. This takes us out another 2,400 planned replacements. The project area is a yellow area highlighted there in front of you on that map. Now, we are working in that project area right now, but this extends that project area. This map's a little bit bigger than some of our other maps, and this will allow us to kind of work throughout this project area for the continuance of the project. The project focuses on 2,400 lead service line replacements, and that alternative was selected based on a water quality need. Looking at some other potentials such as no action, that's in our opinion, not a viable alternative. Regionalization is another way to look at this. However, regionalization does not solve the problem with these lead service line replacements. We're already a regional system. Even if we added partner communities, it wouldn't address the issue with lead service line replacements. We're looking at all the technology to perform the lead service line replacement. We continue to employ a method where we kind of pull that replacement through using a contraption that we hook onto the existing lead service. We go in the basement, we pull the meter, we then pull that through, so it's very limited in excavation. It's known as a trenchless technology, even though we dig a little hole out on the street. Those commissioners that were part of the work tour last year, when folks from the White House came up to visit us, you saw some of that work live, where there was one rather small excavation, and then we go and we pull everything through the house. In terms of cost and debt repayment, our water system right now, based on previously published rate reports, we anticipate that there's a annual investment need of about 4 to 7%. That's not a rate recommendation. That's just where our previous published rate reports have shown the future kind of trending. That's already kind of baked into the system. Awards and grants are really needed to continue this work. This is why we're continuing to apply for these projects as we have that opportunity. That cost of this project is $24 million. That would fund approximately 2,400 lead service line replacements. If we just got this alone and there was no grant or principal forgiveness, just a loan only, we'd be looking at about $7.22 per REU. An REU is a residential equivalent unit. We're utilizing some rate calculations that are required by Eagle. So using that required rate methodology for this report, we're referring to a customer, typical household customer, residential customer, as an REU, residential equivalent unit. So with that, based on a 20-year loan, 3% interest rate, you would see that would be about a $7 increase per quarter. The actual impact to a household will be based on actual future rates, which will come forward not only to this body, but also to the UPC as formal rate recommendations. This conversation, this presentation here in front of you is not a formal rate recommendation. This is a requirement of Eagle that we have to put in our project plan to demonstrate what those rate impacts would be. We also have, environmental, public health, and other inputs or other impacts from construction itself. These are some pretty typical items. This is just in reference to overall construction, not only the construction that we're doing on site, but also, the manufacture of the raw materials, the smelting of the copper, all that kind of stuff. So that does have some impacts. Construction operational impacts. These things will all be mitigated as we work through them. Things like soil erosion permits, you'll see us go out and put in felt or fabric liners in storm drains, so that as we excavate, we're keeping those storm sewers clean. We do have to get into homes when we do this work. We have to make appointments. It takes about 8 hours to complete the work. We ask that somebody over the age of 18 be home when we make those appointments so that we can get in and do this work. So really, this is a community project in the sense that we've got to get into 2,400 homes at about 8 hours apiece. So there's a tremendous amount of community investment with this project, as well as there has been a tremendous amount of community investment through all of the lead service line replacement work. And certainly we want to acknowledge that and thank the community for allowing us into our homes and partnering with us as we do this work. That concludes my presentation, and We'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Baker. Just a moment there. Any questions for Director Baker on his presentation? Commissioner Bradle.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, so it's 2,400 service lines over the course from August 2026 through November 2029. So it's spread over those 3 years, basically.
Yeah, correct. That's a great question. So we would program closing fourth quarter of 2026. There's probably not a lot of construction activity that would happen right at that moment. So most of this work would likely occur in 27, 28, and 29, and finish out at the end of 2029.
Okay. And the other thing, just to clarify for the public as well, by the time this work would begin, we'll have already concentrated efforts to complete work in East Side, which was first, North Side, which was second, and Edison, which is underway currently. And then this project scope, after those 3 core neighborhoods are completed, would focus on Vine, South Side, West Nidge Hill, Central Business District, and the West Main Hill.
Yes, that's correct. Another point that's certainly impactful for the community is that we should have about 7,500 lead service lines completed when we start this work, and when we end this work in November of 2029, we should be completed with all lead service line replacements in Kalamazoo.
That's fantastic. The other thing as well, I mean, just to, if you can speak to a little bit to this, because you can do it significantly better than I can. When the officials were here from the Biden administration to celebrate that 5,000th service line, one of the things that really stood out to me when the official was here to speak was that he mentioned that in the entire country, so considering like New York City, Philadelphia, these massive communities, that there had been 181,000 service line replacements nationwide, and out of those 181,000, 5,000 of them that we were celebrating were just in the city of Kalamazoo alone. So that is indicative of how aggressively you and your team have been taking and recognizing that there's no safe lead level for human consumption.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. You know, just to piggyback on that, I just want to highlight the, the action, dedication, and initiative the City Commission took back in 2017 when we presented our accelerated lead service line replacement program schedule, and took the step to go to 500 lead services replaced annually beginning in 2017. There's been many years where we've gone well beyond that. There's been some years where we fell just short of that. But overall, our, really the City Commission's aggressive work to just get this done and to really focus on replacing lead services in big, large neighborhood tracts has really been revolutionary to the success of this program, and just seeing that there's no safe level of lead, and there's no safe level of lead. There's no amount of lead you should have in your blood. There's no amount of lead that you should have in drinking water. So really the only answer is to get all the lead out and then do that as quick as possible. So, certainly from the perspective of the Department of Public Services, that's our goal, and we really like to thank the City Commission for supporting us in that goal.
Thank you. Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Baker. So I want to talk about this cost and debt repayment. Am I to understand that once we start doing more of this, there's going to be a raise to the community in the water rates?
Yes. Let me back up a little bit. So the rate reports that we've brought forward to you every year, the Commission just acted for a new water rate in 2025. So 2025, January 1st, we enacted a 5% water rate increase. In that report also stated that the city should plan for somewhere between 4 and 7% increases occur annually. So based on those published reports, which are published with respect to our capital improvement programs, the city should anticipate somewhere between 4 and 7% annually. So 5% that was passed in 2025 is in line with that. What I'm saying is that is going to continue into the future, including this project plan in the years thereafter. Specifically, so that's kind of over here. That's a background statement. If we look through the perspective of just this project, and we wanted to analyze just what the rate impacts of this project would be. This project would add about $7.22 to your water bill per quarter.
And when are you proposing the next increase would be? So in January of 2026? So I guess my question is, so if we're going to talk about this increase here, and we're already expecting to do another increase in 2026, have we factored that into this?
Let me clarify that. So this is not a rate recommendation. We're required to put this in the report to show the cost and value of the work. $24 million of lead service line replacements, straight math, would be about $7.22 a quarter. That's not a rate recommendation. Your rate recommendations come forward annually. The last one was in 2025. The next one will be in 2026. Based on the rate recommendations that have been coming to the City Commission to date, and based on the most recent published report from Stantec, your 2026 anticipated rate increase is in the range of between 4 and 7%. We haven't calculated that rate yet, so we don't know, is it 5 or 4 or 6? That's not detailed out yet. That rate does anticipate these projects in holistically, because they're already part of our capital improvement plan. So this is a little bit confusing. We're required in the project plan to show this, to detail what $24 million of work would look like with respect to rates, but this is not a rate recommendation, and I'm not standing here in front of you today, I'm not standing here before you today to say that this is a this for that, in terms of if you approve this, you're approving a $7 rate increase. That you are not doing that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to make sure. I do understand that we have to, do what we need to do to make sure everybody's happy. Because I do remember with that report that after a certain point of time, once we replace certain lines, that we would start to break even and the cost would start to go down. Was that correct? When we talk about fees to the customers?
Certainly. I mean, that's a great point. So, with this project, if this project plan is approved and we get scored competitively within the state, so we're in the intended use plan, and we complete this work, there's no more lead services to replace. This is it. This is the last bunch. So there's, some light at the end of the tunnel. And if we're not doing $24 million of work every 2 to 3 years, there's certainly a rate benefit that comes from that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Director Baker? Thank you. So to those of you here in the chambers, this is now item H7, was G6. Is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve this resolution, the adoption of a resolution adopting a project plan for water system improvements and designating James J. Baker, P.E., as the authorized project representative. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Hess, supported by Commissioner Decker. Further discussion, commissioners? I'll just make a couple comments about this. I was able to be, part of that when the federal folks came in last year and we saw the demonstration. Just want to remind everybody, this is like not one project, one place where you just bring in the construction equipment and do it. This is a project that happens basically in everybody's front yard, and that does require the cooperation of the person receiving the water service, our teams, and when this crisis was made nationally evident from a horrific event that happened here in Michigan, our team here at the city got right on addressing this, and it's really profoundly important. I think from the time frame that was made available, proposed to us when this was initially started, it was going to take us a lot longer than it has taken us here. So I would just want to say thank you to your team, Manager Risma, Director Baker, and your team, and to residents who have worked along with this to make sure that this opportunity for people to literally be poisoned by their own drink water is being taken away. Getting this done is just a magnificent piece of work on the functional side. So thank you so much for your efforts. Clerk Boylan, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next, reports and legislation. Manager Risma.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I want to first just talk about the storms that we encountered last week. Thursday, I think we all were impacted by that in some way. I especially want to thank our residents for patience during this time. I know roads were difficult to travel, and getting around the city with traffic signals out was frustrating, I know, to myself and I'm sure to others, but I know that our crews are working diligently to get all of that taken care of, and I'll call up Public Services Director Baker in a bit to give an update on that situation. But I also want to thank Public Safety. I know that night there were there was a lot of radio traffic with trees down on homes, power lines, and I know they were moving all over the city during that time in responding to incidents. And certainly thankful that there were no serious injuries or loss of life. I think we're all glad to see that or hear that. And also I want to thank the City of Grand Rapids for providing mutual aid to us. Crews arrived today and they're, I believe, working in the Parkview Hills area of the city. So we really appreciate their help in that they've extended to us. So with that, I will ask Director Baker to give an update and next steps with storm cleanup.
Welcome back again, Director Baker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, Manager Ritzma. First, I just want to give some perspective on the scope and magnitude of the event. Certainly came through Kalamazoo on the 15th, pretty intense, severe weather. We had over 20 drinking water stations that were out of power. Over 15 wastewater lift stations out of power. Those have been restored. Now we've got 1 water station out of power and 5 wastewater stations out of power. So it's been 4 days, and we're not completely out of the woods yet. We've got over 400 down tree response requests, so that's where citizens have called in and said, I've got either a tree or a part of a tree or something down, blocking my driveway or blocking where I'm at. We had something close to 30 different major streets that were closed. We don't have a full count of all the local streets that were impacted by this, and over 27 signals. During that the first few hours of the event, our crews responded to put out over 44 stop signs at signals to try to get folks to recognize that signals are out and to come to a 4-way stop to get forward. During that time period, having lost over 20 drinking water stations, we needed a way to really boost pressure in the system and move water around. I want to thank our water engineering team as well as our water supply teams that were able to do that successfully, maintain system pressure the entire time, and maintain treatment technique the entire time. Same thing with wastewater, having over 15 wastewater stations down and having staff respond to that. This event exhausted all of our ability in terms of getting generators. We had to get generators brought in from Grand Rapids via Michigan Cat, so that we had additional generators we were bringing down. Even that, not all the stations received generators. Some of them, we just brought a trailer unit on site, powered it up long enough to do what we needed to do, and then moved on to the next one. Again, my hat's off to all the great work by water and wastewater staff to keep these systems operational and at no time impacting the public at all. So we were able to maintain the system and not have any issues with either of those systems. So as the city manager said, we are now starting those cleanup efforts. We're really just focusing on, really kind of getting the tree damage that's in the right of way, getting that picked up and getting that hauled off. We are supported by City of Grand Rapids crews as well. We're working kind of towards the south belt of the city right now. This morning we started out over on Starlight, Moonlight, Eventide, and Siesta, moving into Parkview Hills. Tomorrow we're going to be on Bronson Boulevard, and also we'll be in Millwood, kind of working our way through. We see, the Oakwood neighborhood's really heavily impacted. Many neighborhoods are impacted very severely by this. So we're going to kind of move from west to east and then kind of north through the city, really focusing on clearing streets and right-of-ways first. But we already have announced and we are committed to performing a curbside pickup. So if you have downed trees or brush from the storm debris, get that material out to the curb. And then beginning Tuesday, the 27th of May, we're going to start that curbside pickup. So you've got some time, you've got the Memorial Day weekend to get that stuff out, and then we're going to start picking that up in a routine basis. So we still have yet to publish a map and schedule for that, so that's going to be forthcoming. We're still going to work on getting that out, but what we want to share to the community right now is that we're here to support you. We're going to do the clean up, just getting the material out to the curb, and we'll work with you on that. Again, big thanks to the crews and everybody that helped out in this response, and I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody's got any.
Thank you, Director Baker.
Yes, when we talked over the weekend, you're relying on consumers first to come and de-electrify lines that are down before a crew can even touch a tree, right?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, City Manager. That's a good point. You may see trees that are blocking roadways or intersections, or trees are blocking your driveway. We can't come touch the tree until the lines have been removed from the tree and deemed safe. There's too much safety risk. If those down lines, many of them were energized well after they were down, and so we've got to make sure we protect staff. And we're always, telling folks, if you see a down line, stay away. That down line in contact with that tree, wet, everything else can conduct energy and be potentially deadly if it's touched by the wrong person. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Director Baker? Yes, Vice Mayor Hess.
Director Baker, it wasn't my first thought, like who's keeping water pressure on in the city, but I'm glad it was someone's. Thank you to you and your water engineers for doing that and for just keeping that essential service as part of our homes here in Kalamazoo. Can residents call 311? When should residents call 311? And what can 311 tell them about the cleanup and where you're going to be and all of that? Are you in communication with 311?
Yes, we certainly are. So at this point, we're aware there was a storm. We are working through everywhere. We are committed to doing that curbside pickup of storm debris. We already have 400 tickets for downed trees. So we we're going to work on that. We're responding to that. At this point, I would say only call 311 if you have, a specific question to a tree that is currently blocking your driveway, blocking your street. If you just have tree debris in the yard, the answer is bring it to the curb, we'll take it from there. If it is a street tree and the street tree is in the curb lawn already or in the road already, we're going to take care of that. That's our responsibility.
What if a street tree fell on a house?
If a street tree fell on your house, please contact your insurance company. So that's the first thing that we recommend folks to do. Contact your insurance company. Your insurance company is going to provide some recommendations for you to move forward with that. But that should be a first call. And if there's any trees on houses right now, please call your insurance company.
Thank you.
Other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Bradle.
Director Baker, I just want to echo thanks to you and your team again. I think the one thing I have to keep reminding myself as well is how many of these events we've had in the last year or two. I've had a chance to bump into a couple folks from our forestry team in-house and just to see how seriously they take their job, but just how overwhelming it is. I think one of the things that's particularly notable is just that, you'd mentioned just 400 tickets so far. These are so far people where these are like imminent, urgent things we need to tend to. And in some cases, they still haven't had a chance to get to the things from the, let's call it the spring break storm. We had, the May 7th incidents where there was a severe storm last year with the tornadoes that were in Portage that took out 48,000 trees in the Portage area. And the ice storm before that. So there's just been one after another, and each of these events feel like such critical incidents that have to be taken right away. I guess that leads to my next question is just like, what, do we have enough in-house to do this? Are we outsourcing some of this work or anticipate to outsource some of it to keep up and get caught up? I'm just kind of curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great question. These events, and you left one out, June 2nd, 2024,
yes.
Was a significant event for Millwood. That was a straight line wind event that was very taxing to the community overall. So in our perspective, there's been more very severe events like this that are requiring a municipal response. This is not something where we can just sit back and say, okay, well, citizens, go clean your street up, right? This is something that requires public services across a grand scale across the entire city to respond to. We reached our limits of response, and we requested via the city manager some additional support that came through City of Grand Rapids. We also utilized the My Deal contract and executed direct procurement to get generators on site so that we could respond to water stations immediately. So you're seeing that just in this event. I'll also tell you that Rathco didn't have 44 stop signs when we requested them, so those had to be made to respond to all the intersections that were out. So you're seeing on multiple fronts where our resources were exhausted and we had to kind of go outside to get support. There's some other details within this that we can go into. We set up a bulk refueling operation with all those generators going in all those stations. We had to get diesel to them, and it was beyond what we could do ourselves. So we actually had J&H Oil, a contract that the City Commission just approved, to come out and provide on-site refueling to all of our sites. And that took a lot of coordination and planning and execution to get that work done. There's more to come. One of the things that we're going to be doing is renting a large tub grinder to take all these tree parts and make them into wood chips. So we're going to be setting that up into the future. One thing also left off is that if folks have stuff right now and they want to get rid of it, they're welcome to bring it to 322 East Stockbridge. We've got bins set up, concrete bins, where folks can bring material that's right across the street from our 415 Stockbridge address. So folks can bring stuff there and set it. And To that point, we're going to continue our work and our operations, really largely grounded in city crews and city resources, while we're using other vendors, rentals and everything else, other communities, Grand Rapids, to kind of help pull in to have a full response. That being said, when we start that cleanup work on the 27th, it's likely to go for 5 or 6 weeks out. If we look back at the ice storm, we had a response that lasted over 8 weeks to that. We're still getting our arms around this storm event, but this feels very similar in scope and magnitude to the ice storm event that we dealt with just a few years ago.
Yeah, I just want to lend support of if there's ways to shake the couch cushions to make sure that there's resources to support the team to get caught up from all the previous stuff. I would definitely be supportive of that, because this is not sustainable for us as a community. I mean, I have pretty grave concerns about some of our neighborhoods where it's no fault of your team or anybody else's team, but just history and poor forethought, I guess, if you will, where you have whole neighborhoods that have these dying, aging, ailing trees. And, it's just, I guess, kind of a ticking time bomb, if you will, for somebody to get injured, more damage to happen, and more costs to us as taxpayers, just if we don't get a heavy grasp of this. And I know that's a tall order to ask for, but I think we're going to have to, as a commission, just seeing that we've had, I guess what you indicated, what we'd identify as 5 significant incidents in the last year alone, that we're going to have to do something different and get more aggressive proactively about these. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Baker. And, on your point, Commissioner Pradel, of the aging trees that are within our community, is there a program, Director Baker, where if someone would like a tree, or they could get on a list to possibly get a tree planted in their yard? Can you talk about that if we have one?
Yes, we do have tree replanting programs that we're currently working through different funding programs. We've got one right now. We're utilizing a federal grant. We do have spots. It's a layer on our GIS. I can't tell you if that's a public layer or not, but it is something staff uses internally that marks all prospective planting locations, curb lawn locations in the city. So, if there are folks that do want a tree planted in their front lawn, I think we definitely would like to hear from you, and I would recommend that you call 311 with that recommendation. That's not the calls that we're taking right now, but that's probably a neat one to put on our list.
Thank you for that. I just want to put it out there. Education is the best. And I do want to thank you and your team for being out there. As I drove around the city, I definitely saw a lot of city trucks out there and city personnel, public works personnel, so I did stop and make sure I thanked them for everything that they were doing. So I did see them out there, and you guys were doing what you could do. There was a lot of devastation in the city, so thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
All set, Commissioner. Thank you again, sir. Appreciation. Anything more, Manager Ritzma?
Nothing more, Your Honor.
All right, thank you so much. Now is the opportunity for commissioner comments. Commissioners, anyone want to make a comment this evening? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think it's more of I have a few comments, but I don't think this one in particular here is a comment. I know at our last city commission meeting, we talked about creating the committee within the civil rights to help them move forward. I just want to make sure that we had actually established that.
I don't think we have formally established a committee to do that. No.
Do you think that would be something we'd be able to do today?
I mean, we could do that. I know that when I met with the president of the CRB, I offered as well, to be contacted again and happy to try to participate myself. I think there's other interest here, so I don't know if, it'd have to be a sub-quorum number, but.
Well, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I brought that up and I didn't get put, on the dark side, so, yeah.
Is there, Commissioner Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. So there is a committee already existing. So if anyone on the dais wanted to kind of give input and support to that, I don't think we need to create another committee. There's something that is already built that people can participate in. So, yeah.
Okay. More?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I just want to say publicly that it was a treat to see these young, articulate, young Black boys today in the chambers. It did my heart good, and everything they're asking for is simple. It's not expensive. It's just about commitment and being available. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. The last thing I would like to say, no, there are two more things, but a question was raised, like, what is the root cause of why we're going through all these things within our community, and not in our community, but in our country? And for me, the root cause is racism. Straight up, that's what it is. We can dismantle racism if we get intentional and strategic at the city level, at the county level, at the state level. Don't know what's going to really happen right now any further than that. However, we cannot think that someone is going to rescue us. We have the power and the wherewithal to really step up and to do great things in this community without asking permission. I think asking permission, we're done with that. We need to do and ask for forgiveness later. And then in response to all of the storms that are happening right now, there are many people within this country that don't believe that climate change is real. But it is, and we're seeing the effects of it more than once or twice a year. We need to step up, get serious, get intentional, because the communities that are affected the most by climate change and environmental injustice are communities of color. We have an obligation and a responsibility to, one, get more educated. There will be outreach happening starting this summer around environmental justice and climate justice. So I look forward to those forums and really listening to what community needs and wants to do about this work. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Decker, did you have anything else?
Just a little bit. I just again want to, say thank you to all of the entities, consumers, public service, KDPS, the community, other surrounding entities that came and helped us out in our time of need, not just for the city of Kalamazoo, but for the county, because they're working all over the county and trying to bring power back to everyone. I'm grateful for the businesses that were able to be open. There's a couple places that I went into, and you could tell that they were just really trying to help the stream of people that were coming in. People had grace, they had patience, because they understood that they knew that that might have been the only store open where everybody was coming to. So I definitely wanted to say thank you for that. I did want to mention that this past weekend was the KDPS's Citizens Academy, and although I wasn't able to be there this time, and I've enjoyed it before, so I did miss it, I did hear that it was a great opportunity for one of the individuals that went there, and they learned a lot about not only what our KDPS has to go to, but also what our citizens go through. So I just want to give a shout out to that, and just to encourage anyone that if you want to know more, if you want to have more of a relationship, to please, sign up for that Citizens Academy. It's so educational, and you will learn so much more. Again, I'm thinking about everybody in our community. We didn't have power till late the other night, and it's tough. And I understand that, especially when you have young individuals and you have babies, and you're trying to figure out how to feed them, bathe them, got to warm up water. So my heart goes out to everyone that still does not have power, and I know we've got teams that are working on that to get that back on for everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Bradle.
Thank you, Mayor. We talked about this with the trees as well, but I feel like we're in a new norm, and it's hard to refute that it's anything but climate change. And we as a community, I feel like we're doing a lot to posture ourselves to be prepared, but there's a lot more we need to do. And I I just hope that we're equipping our team well enough to make sure that they can keep up with it, because it does seem daunting and overwhelming. Just a reminder as well for these folks that are responding. Just on my street, I saw a crew that was out. I asked them where they were from. There was one person who was from all the way from California, another person from Omaha, Nebraska, here to help support us. But it feels like around the country, we're just, juggling people from one place to another to support each other, because it's just so much of an issue no matter where you go in the country. But just really want to thank the crews from Public Services, Public Safety, and the crews from Consumers Energy, and wherever all these other folks are coming from to support us as a community the last 5 times. Along that lines, I'm sure our public services folks are pretty exhausted, but this week is Public Services Week. Tomorrow, and then I believe on Thursday, they have events, so if you check out the city website to support them, I'm sure they'd love to talk to you about the work that they're doing in our community. So please check those out as well. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Prado. Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. One is I'm glad to hear that there's some movement, because the work that the Community Relations Board does, the Civil Rights Board does, is so important. There's such a need, and we can do something about it. With regard to climate change, I would say that 99% of the scientists in the world agree on 3 things. Climate change is real. Human activity is the primary cause of it. And if we don't do something about it, we're headed for catastrophe. But as Commissioner Prado pointed out, we can't afford to deal with all this. And this is especially important to pay attention to, because the federal government now is threatening to do away with FEMA, to turn FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association, over to the states, which certainly don't have the resources to deal with it. The only organization that has the resources that we need to deal with climate change is the federal government. And we have to push to make sure that they accept the responsibility that they have.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooney. Vice Mayor Hess.
Sure. As regards to the storm, agreed, climate change is real, and we have to pay attention to that as such. But I do believe that we can have chaos or community, and in the chaos, I saw a lot of community happening. I saw a lot of people helping out their neighbors, cleaning up yards, some people cleaning out the drains on the streets, people giving grace at intersections, which normally doesn't happen. And please remember, if there still are any lights out there, please treat it like a 4-way stop and make sure that you avoid accidents. The Gleaners. In January, Jim Van Tynen came and did a public comment about the Gleaners. And they're an organization, a nonprofit that takes food that would normally be plowed under in a farmer's field and chops it up and washes it and dehydrates it, bags it up. And just last month, they were able to send their first 1 million meals to Liberia. And in this time when USAID is waning, this work is so valuable. I was humbled to be able to serve this morning at the Gleaners. And they need volunteers and they need donations. And yes, this food is going abroad in a time when there's hungry people here in Kalamazoo, and we all know that. But this is, again, food that would be wasted, and it goes through Feed the Hungry to places in this world where they are food insecure. If you want to know more, go to Kalamazoo Gleaners, that's GLEANERS.org. You can sign up there to volunteer. Shifts are from 8:30 to 11:30, Monday through Friday, and it is a joyful service. And I just wanted to say that. So during the summer, if students are off, if we have my fellow retirees, it really is a wonderful place to serve. And yesterday I was blessed to be able to give a proclamation to the Second Baptist Church on Rose Street, on North Rose Street, and Pastor Chavez Marshall for their 170th anniversary. This congregation has served and been faithful in this community for 173 years. And my congratulations goes out to them and their congregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hess. So I'm just going to finish up with this. It is, I'm sure, very difficult for every one of my colleagues to sit up here and feel their own frustration about the fact that there are serious issues that the city is not able to, I guess, fully address in the moment. And I have the honor of serving with 6 completely committed and caring people. And so it's not easy to be here in this seat and have someone telling you do a horrible job and they don't think you care. And I just want to say that is 100% not the case for the people that I get to serve with up here. And I'm sure it's very frustrating, the lack of resources that are available, even more so from the federal side, as a matter of fact, that we can combine with any local resources to address serious problems like housing and the lack thereof. I do also want to say, though, and it never seems like enough, but reflective of that, in the last 5 years, the city has contributed over $32 million to affordable housing projects in the city of Kalamazoo. That is not an insignificant amount. In addition to that, the city has also contributed to creating an emergency housing ordinance, direct assistance to existing shelters, direct financial assistance to the new shelter, transitional housing that the county is, this is all in addition to that number, that the county is in the process of creating. In addition to that, in Kalamazoo County, there are at least 10 shelters. All of those shelters are in the city of Kalamazoo. And that means that over the course of time, the city of Kalamazoo forgives hundreds of thousands of dollars of property tax revenue to support those shelter operations. But that does not mean that the shelters themselves do not receive the services that are paid for by property tax revenue. In other words, public safety, fire services, first responder, plowing the streets around the shelter, whatever is available and paid for by those general fund property tax dollars still happens for shelters. And it is frustratingly insufficient, I would say, but I would also suggest that as the city grapples with this, is that the city alone can't solve the problem for the county, or as it turns out, for our region, because there are many, many people who do end up in Kalamazoo because of the fact that we have such an extensive shelter system, including a day shelter that is open 365 days a year. And if you look at the more rural counties around us, those kinds of facilities do not exist. And oftentimes, many, many people that come to Kalamazoo come to take advantage of those resources, as, you know, insufficient as they may be. So I just want to say thank you, team, for continuing to support that, having to also bear the burden of recognizing that, but still at the same time realizing there are many things a city needs to do, whether it's getting a fallen tree off of someone's roof or out of the street, making sure that people are safe when there's storms. Just if you look at our agenda tonight, we talked about tree cleanup. We talked about needing finance software so the city can operate. We're talking about rehabbing a bathroom in Milne Park and replacing 2,400 lead lines. So I guess the question is, when it comes down to that is the difficult situation. When you're sitting here and you think, well, should we do any of that? Should we do none of that? Should we direct all our resources in having to make those balancing decisions, which result in lack, and sometimes desperate lack? So thank you for carrying that burden, trying to do the best job you can with it. I appreciate that. And listening and trying to do better. I love you, Kalamazoo. We're adjourned.
I read the